Welcome to Ariana's book summary series. I'm Ariana. Every day I'll share the key ideas I learned from a book here with you. Subscribe to my channel now if you don't want to miss it. The book for today is I Wear the Black Hat, Grappling with Villains, Real and Imagined, by Chuck Klosterman. When I say villain, you probably have a specific image in mind. A favorite villain from history, popular culture, or even your personal network. But why do you think that person is bad? Chuck Klosterman explains why we might mistakenly label some people as evil when they aren't in the book, I Wear the Black Hat. Ready to upgrade your bad guy radar? Let's take a look under the black hat. Here are 3 tips to help you better deal with both actual and fictional anti-heroes. Lesson 1. Do the veil of ignorance exercise to show yourself that your ideas of what is good and bad are purely fictitious. You'll define good and bad very differently than people in other parts of the world, or even just in your own city, depending on where you were born and raised. The son of a wealthy family may believe it is wrong to cheat on a test, but the street child may view stealing to feed her brother as a noble cause. Your environment greatly influences how you perceive good and bad. The veil of ignorance exercise by philosopher John Rawls is a great way to remind yourself just how much the environment influences you. As an example, consider being given the opportunity to play the role of God. A brand new world and society are entirely possible. From nothing. All laws, social norms, and rules are entirely up to you. However, there's a catch. Once you're done, you'll be thrust into this society as a completely new person with no say in your status. You might become a doctor or homeless, a famous person or a cancer patient, a refugee or the mayor. What kind of society would you try to establish given this veil of ignorance? Most likely one where everyone is treated equally and where everyone wants to be good. You'll quickly realize that building such a society is extremely difficult, if not impossible. We all define good and bad differently depending on the situation, so be careful what you categorize and label people. Lesson 2. People dislike change, so they hate those who push it on them. Do you know who Kim.com is? This German guy is an internet pioneer. He founded Megaupload, one of the most well-known online file-sharing services, in 2005. The US government shut down the website in 2012 as a result of a raid at Kim's New Zealand mansion because it was widely used to illegally distribute movies, music, and software. Despite how controversial and dubious Kim's personality might be, there isn't a single instance of him using his abilities for clearly evil purposes. For example, in spite of having the ability to hack numerous government systems, he never did so to further evil causes. Instead, after 2001, he actively fought against terrorism with a group called Young Intelligent Hackers Against Terrorism and offered a reward for information leading to bin Laden's capture. He altered how we consume media, which is the main reason why people view him as a villain. He made huge corporations reevaluate how they market music, movies, and software or risk bankruptcy where they didn't like that. People dislike change, and they dislike it even more if it wasn't their idea. Lesson 3. The more sympathetic a villain appears, the more evil you believe them to be, even though others may be worse. How would you describe Stalin? A man with no empathy, who makes decisions that will have terrible effects on the human race, who is probably as cold as the weather in Russia. I don't know a whole lot about him, do you? How about Hitler? He was choleric, had a recognizable mustache, loved his dog, always extended his right arm to greet people, and, maybe you know, he was also a vegetarian. That's a lot of stuff. Who was more evil, then? Hitler was undoubtedly the worst of the two, as any history book, documentary, or person you ask will confirm. However, if you look at the numbers, you'll see that while Stalin killed 26 million people, Hitler killed about 20 million. Don't get me wrong, both of these people committed unspeakable crimes against humanity, but you'd think someone like Stalin would be condemned way more in public. Hitler was human, and because of this, we tend to associate him with pure evil. This makes him more relatable, making the crime seem much worse. But our feelings don't always match the truth, and in this example, that makes one villain seem less evil than the other. Let me summarize the book. I Wear the Black Hat dispels some of the biases that cause us to judge people differently from their true intentions, proving that figuring out whether a person is good or bad is more difficult than you might think. This is an interesting book. I highly recommend it to you. That's it for today. Remember to like, comment, share this video, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.